food labels can help us to make healthier food choices when we're out and about shopping in the supermarket.
Firstly, looking at the ingredients list on the back of a food can help us work out how healthy a food is. Ingredients are listed in order of weight, from highest to lowest, meaning the first few products make up the majority of that food. Taking a quick look at the first 3 or 4 ingredients in a food can help give us an idea of how healthy that food might be. If the first 3 or 4 ingredients are high in sugar or fat, such as oil or cream, it usually means that that food is high in fat or sugar. So looking at the ketchup, we can see that tomato puree is the first ingredient. However, sugar is the second, which could indicate that this ketchup contains quite a lot of sugar from just looking at the ingredients.
When reading food labels, it's important to look at 4 different things. Firstly, you want to look at the per 100 grams column. Secondly, you can then look at the total fat column here. Thirdly, you can look at of which sugars, which tells us the amount of sugar in a food. And the last thing you can look at is the salt here. This handy label reading card helps us to know what might be considered as a high sugar, fat or salt food and what might be considered as a low sugar, fat or salt food. Where possible, we want to try and choose foods that are within the low sugar, fat and salt ranges and avoid foods that are within the high sugar, fat and salt ranges. As we can see on our food label reading card, a food that is high sugar is more than 22.5 grams of sugar per 100 grams. A food that is counted as a high fat food will have more than 17.5 grams of fat per 100 grams, and a food that is high in salt will have more than 1.5 grams of salt per 100 grams. Foods that are counted as low sugar have less than 5 grams of sugar per 100 grams. Foods that are counted as low fat have less than 3 grams of fat per 100 grams. And foods that are low in salt have 0.3 or less grams of salt per 100 grams. An easy way of remembering what is counted as a low fat or a low sugar food is to remember that sugar has 5 letters, so it must have less than 5 grams of sugar per 100 grams. And fat has 3 letters, so it must have less than 3 grams per 100 grams. A label reading activity that you can do with parents and children is to collect a variety of food products like these and ask parents and children to have a go at reading the food labels. And they can then tell you whether they think that food is a high or low fat, salt or sugar food. For example, I have a pot of yoghurt and our sweet and salt popcorn here. First of all, I'm going to have a go at reading the yoghurt pot. And we need to remember we're always looking at the per 100 grams column. First of all, we can look at the fat column. We can see that's 0 grams, making it a low fat food. Then we go to our of which sugars, which is 4 grams, which again makes it a low sugar food. And finally, our salt, 0.1 grams. So it's a low salt food. If we move on to our sweet and salt popcorn, we can see here we've got per 14 grams, but we always want to look at per 100 grams. First of all, if we look at fat, that is 15.8, making it a medium fat food. If we then go to our of which sugars, which is 28.1, we can see that that makes it a very high sugar food. And then lastly, we can look at our salt, which is 1.25. Again, that makes it a medium salt food.